Hi everyone, thank you for joining us in this stream. We wanted today to have a little talk and to go into a bit of detail about Last Days of Lazarus, our upcoming dark adventure game set in post-communist Romania. We wanted to talk a bit about ourselves, especially about George, who is the game's director. And we're not professionals, so this is just gonna be a very informal talk, and we're gonna bumble a lot, and we're gonna have a bad pronunciation of English because we're from Romania, Eastern Europe, so it is what it is. I'm Catalin Marcu. I'm from Grim Tallinn. I've worked on a couple of other games before, and now I'm co-developing Last Days of Lazarus and also handling the porting and publishing side of the project. But most importantly, this is George Remus. He's from Darkania Works, and he is, like I said, the game director. George, can you please tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so obviously my name is George Remus and I'm a developer at Darkania Works. I like making video games, and I've been doing this for the last 7 years now, if I'm not mistaken. And Last Days of Lazarus, the current game, which is gonna release in a few days, it's basically my second game. The first one on which I've worked as a part of another team is called Grey Dawn, and that game has received very positive reviews and has created very interesting expectations, let's say, for this type of genre. Why I think this is important, it's because with the type of games that I like to make, I try to tell interesting stories and to tackle sensitive topics like spirituality, death, politics, and stuff like this. So yeah, that's what I started making video games, and also because I have lots of ideas, lots of interesting ideas, quirky ideas. That's the main reason. I can't think of anything else right now.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you mentioned the Grey Dawn. For those of you that don't know, it's a game quite similar to Last Days of Lazarus that George has made before, and it's one of the games that I enjoyed terribly. It was awesome. It was quite an experience, unlike anything that I had played before. We weren't working together back then, but we actually got to know each other somewhat through that game, because we met while he was developing that game, and I was with another company working.
We drank a lot of coffee.
We had coffees together, and we talked a lot about games and their development. George, so regarding Last Days of Lazarus, you started working on the game about 2.5 years ago.
Yes.
What made you want to make Last Days of Lazarus, and what made you want to make another game, somewhat similar to Grey Dawn after you finished that one?
Well, I can say without a doubt that it was, and it still is, a passion project. Because, financially those types of games, they can do well, but, if you are a solo indie developer from a country like Romania or something like this, yeah, it's not gonna be, well, you're not gonna get rich overnight, most probably. So yeah, it was a passion project, and I was also encouraged by the way people received Grey Dawn, how the reviews. I still have moments when I go through that feed on Steam and read the reviews, and I'm a bit of a melancholic guy, and I like to read through those reviews, and they give me a boost of confidence, actually, that I can do more. And that's how Last Days of Lazarus started. I wanted to make another story. I wanted to make another dark stories about loss, tragedy in the end, combined with spiritual elements and stuff like that. Yeah, and also it's a journey of self-discovery and self-improvement, if I might say so.
So, as opposed to Grey Dawn, who was set the game was set in 1920, I think. This one is actually set in post-communist Romania in 1999. It's starting in this claustrophobic apartment, very very familiar to us who have lived through the period immediately after the fall of communism here in Romania. Why that period, and why that sort of location?
Well, it can certainly provide a unique setup. Because, for those in the Western Europe, let's say in the Western world, they are familiar with, Western culture, Western architecture, while in Eastern Europe we are familiar with those, how are they called, blocks of flats, those brutalist environments. And yeah, actually this type of architecture and the environment gives a unique touch to the whole game, at least the majority of the game. And also, it's not just the post-communist aspect of the game, but it's also the depiction of the idyllic countryside of Romania. We, from time to time, from moments.
So yeah, like you start out in this communist, very oppressive, because that's what communist architecture often was, very oppressive. So you start out in this apartment, and then you will visit various other locations, like eerily beautiful locations, also inspired by actual places from here, from Romania. What I wanted to ask you was. So I played the first prototype, I think, 2 years ago. So you were working on it probably for half a year, and you gave me the prototype when it had, I think, just the apartment. And so I remember I was very impressed by the mood and like the claustrophobic feeling in it. But I wanted to ask you, how do you feel that the game has evolved from that very early stage up until now? How do you feel it has improved?
Well, it definitely is looking much better. It's playing much better. It's interesting for those who are developers. I've started working on this game. I was rather naive, but really enthusiastic. I was really enthusiastic about this. And I've certainly underestimated lots of aspects. As a professional, I'm an artist. I'm a visual artist. I do mostly 3D stuff. And I like to fiddle in the engine with placing assets and making them look beautiful in an environment. And also, when I started working on Last Days of Lazarus, I had to learn a bit of programming because I started alone. And I'm a non-technical person. And I found a template for a first-person adventure game. And I used this template, and again, I underestimated. I thought that this template would be everything I need, and in 1 year I'll have a finished game ready to launch. But that obviously didn't happen. And when I realized this, that was a really sad day. Luckily, I have I had a coffee friend, and talked him into doing this.
Even though I actually joined the project full time just a year ago. So we've been collaborating in a lighter way since 2 years ago, because I've been consulting with George for about a year before I joined full time, and we went over approaches to how to develop the game, how to develop some puzzles. We went through the story. Oh my God, we went through the story so many times. and we're so happy with how it turned out right now. Not that there was anything wrong before, but when you actually take a story that is not yet implemented in a game and you put it in a game, there's a lot of different things that you need to make so as to make it okay for the player, to make it so that the player understands the story and it hits the story beats that you want to hit, and so on. So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
So there's something interesting, if I may add this. one thing that this template I used did not have was a saving system. I made the game, basically made all the interactions, everything, and I said, the save system, that's not really hard to implement. And it took us a year to make it.
He was like, but there isn't like a check mark in Unreal Engine that you need to hit just to make the game save. And I was like, no, it's a little bit more complicated than that. And we went over all the code and everything. And I was like, well, it's gonna probably take like maybe 2-3 weeks per chapter to save. And he was like, what? I was gonna launch the game like next month. And well, no, that's not gonna happen. Those are really difficult times, but they were also very funny too. Okay, so George, what do you think players that will buy the game, hopefully on release day, what do you think will be like the coolest thing they'll experience in the game?
Well, it's certainly me being an artist. My job is to make people feel something. And obviously with Last Days of Lazarus, I think, I want to make, to have people feel something, to relate with the characters, to experience an interesting story, and to maybe let them with when they upon finishing the game, maybe they will have some questions that is not in the sense that they did not understood the story, but questions about higher meanings of reality, because I really like to delve in those metaphysics stuff. So
I'm just gonna ask this. Who's your favorite character in the game and why is it Laura?
My favorite character in the game is Laura. Well, Laura is the most beautiful character in the game, but actually I had a lot of fun with creating soldier Vanya, the crazed soldier, and we both had a lot of fun. And I'm not gonna give you any spoilers, but how is it called? The madman tells the truth. That's why we tried to portray this crazy man who cannot be trusted at the first sight, but in the end you'll find that he has something really revealing to tell.
Yeah, and he's definitely a very valuable character to the story, and we were very lucky to have a voice actor that actually conveyed it. He has some lines there that are like just spot on what we envisioned with the character.
Yeah, and with Laura, actually I think it's the not that the other characters are not great, but Laura is way more cooler because she was mainly designed by my wife. And we also we've been really lucky to work with a great actress from America who gave her this incredible vibe.
Yeah, Mallory did an excellent job in voice acting Laura, and she's definitely my favorite character, and not because of the way she looks or anything, but just because her story arc is so interesting and it has so many twists, and I really love that, and I really love how it all comes to a glorious end, and I really love that. I can't wait for people to play the game and to see her story, and for me to be able to speak freely about her with someone other than George.
We always praise our game.
Moving on a bit from Last Days of Lazarus, George, and just going a bit into you and your background, can you tell us how did you decide to make video games and why video games? I know you went to art school, so what happened going from art school to making video games?
In Romania, video games are not taught in school. No one teaches anything about video games in Romania in universities. So somehow it was beneficial to me because I had the opportunity during the university to read a lot, to draw a lot, to basically build this library in my mind of references and great artists that are even now really inspiring. And also, when I finished, actually during the school, I came up with this question: what am I gonna do after I finish the university? Because in Romania, with an art degree, you can be either a teacher, an art teacher, or you can sell paintings in a park. And none of them are great, in my opinion. I mean, there is honor in both of them, not to say that there isn't, but that was not my cup of tea.
Not a very lucrative
Not a very
model.
lucrative business, and I would make, as you can see by my face, I would make a terrible professor, a terrible teacher. So I started learning something about Photoshop. I fiddled around Photoshop, and I already was passionate and really interested in fantasy, in dark stuff. I like writing stories, dark stories, horror stories. And I combined them, and I thought at some point, the story is much more complicated and longer than I can put it in words in this video, but when I finished the school, I was employed by a company that made mobile apps, and they wanted to make a video game, and they saw that I'm kind of interesting and I have lots of ideas, and they obviously employed me to make their game. That did not happen, but it was a great opportunity for me to learn 3D, how to model 3D, because I had little to no idea how to do that thing. I didn't know anything about the video games. I didn't play much of many video games at that point. I only I guess I tried a few dark horror games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, which were actually served as inspiration. Even now they serve me as inspiration in some way. But yeah, I wasn't much of a gamer, not even now. But it was something that grew slowly and in time in me. And another reason why I started making video games is because I wanted to make movies when I was a little kid. I was really passionate by those historical movies. We have a few historical movies in Romania that were shot before the revolution, and I dreamed of making historical movies. And that, combined with all the dark stuff in my imagination, I found myself working in this industry, first as an employee in that company, and later, I left that company. I had an ambition. I left that company with two other guys. We created Interactive Stone, that company, and we developed Grey Dawn. That was the first game on which I've worked, and the rest is history.
So regarding the fact that you like to tell stories, and you actually have a YouTube channel which is quite popular. It's only in Romanian. It's for the local people here.
I've also started a YouTube channel in English, where I translate my weird stories from Romania in English. Please check it out. It's this channel,
Which is called
Darkania Works Video Games.
Okay, so yeah, definitely check it out. Check out the English channel if you're an English speaker, and the Romanian channel if you're from Romania, because he has a lot of cool stories there. So this is something you've loved doing, writing stories, since you were like very young, right?
I still have a notebook from 2003, I guess, where I wrote a play, a theater play for.
So that was how old were you? 2003.
I don't know, man. I'm not good at math.
Where were you born, man? Come on.
I guess I was 13. 13.
Okay, that's cool.
13.
13, yeah. Okay, cool. So going a little back to Last Days of Lazarus, are there a lot of personal stuff from your personal life that influenced the game, or even little bits of yourself that you put in there?
Well, obviously, those are
big bits of yourself.
Big chunks of myself. Yeah, well, as an artist, I always infuse my artworks with a lot of bits of myself, to quote you. It certainly has a very personal touch, and if not specifically personal, at least it has touches that are taken out from our country, our traditions, superstitions, and stuff like this. Things we grew up in this country. But yeah, as I said, I like to put personal beats in... Nu, o să zic de la început din nou, că ești tu, ce am zis. Chestii personale, nu? Yeah, so definitely being also an artistic endeavor for me, naturally I took the freedom to add here and there various bits of personal touches, and aside from that, I think most important is that not only that I've added a few stuff, personal stuff that some people may see, some people may not see. I think it's important that I've used actually our Romanian folklore, bits of folklore, not that much, but you know, this vibe. If you look at this game, you instantly recognize it as being somewhere in the Eastern Europe, in Romania. Yeah, so I've used a lot of cues from our country, aspects of folklore, of mysticism. Yeah,
there's also lots of pictures in the game, old pictures, which are actually...
Oh yeah, I like to put pictures of my dad, relatives, from my family, of myself, my mom, dad. Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's definitely a lot more than you laid on right now that came out from your soul and put in
exactly. And that's related to another question you asked me earlier. If I want people to be left with something at the end of playing the game, I guess this is one thing, to really see that there's something personal, there's something different there, you know? Yeah. It's not just spent time, it's like quality time and discovering someone's...
And ultimately, this is kind of what indie development, indie games are all about. And I mean, no matter how much they may be focused on mechanics and whatnot, ultimately I think there's a little bit of soul that each indie developer puts in their game, and it's like sort of their way of communicating about themselves with the outside world. And I for myself, there's a little cute detail regarding Last Days of Lazarus. When you'll get to the credits, there's something really cool there. I was lucky enough to be able to record my mother, who she performed the credit song, and it was a very touching moment for me, and yeah. I think for both of us, when we were recording her and listening to her interpretation. And it's so cool that we were able to immortalize her in that way, exactly, in a piece of media, of entertainment, something that remains.
Yes.
Okay, you've said before that you're not that much of a gamer, but you do play some games, right? So what, can you tell me, like, what was the first game you played, and then what was the last game you played?
If I remember correctly, you know, I got my first PC around the age of 18 years. 18 years I was in high school, and it was a really old computer, and it had Windows 897 or something like that, and it had a demo version of Age of Empires. Of course, at that time I had no idea about video games, stuff like that, and I opened that thing. I understood that it is a game. I hit play, and suddenly there were some tiny people moving around. I clicked around. Fortunately, it was a very easy game to get in, to say the least, and they suddenly started gathering berries and moving around, and then people from outside the map came and killed me, and I was really sad. But in the same time, it was really revealing for me. I was like, wow. You know, it was the first video game I remember playing, in the sense that felt like a video game, because earlier I had this it was a rip-off console. It was like a keyboard, a gray keyboard in which you would insert a cartridge, a yellow cartridge.
Yeah, here it was called a Terminator.
A Terminator.
I don't know what it was called.
Yeah, and
it was a clone.
if it would be to believe what was written on those yellow cartridges, each cartridge had 1999 games, and I don't remember any of them. I guess it had Mario, but if there is a memory that really stood with me about video games is when I played Age of Empires, because I was sitting in front of a computer. It was the real deal. And as I said, I'm not much of a gamer. I still play Age of Empires.
But
from time to time.
Right? Or 3.
No, I don't like Age of Empires 4. I don't like it at all. I don't see the reason why this game exists, because Age of Empires 3 and 2, the definitive editions, actually came out the last year, I guess, and they are really, really great, and they are an example of how a remaster should be done. I still play those games. They are constantly updated with new civilizations and stuff like this. And another type of game that I really like to play, it's really interesting because the games I like to play are not the games I like to make, and or at least the type I make.
To me.
I like to play city builders like Anno, and I really like the Anno series. I guess the last game is Anno 1800. I really love that game. I also play games like Diablo, Path of Exile. I'm a huge fan of those games, and those types of games are games that offer me time, because I don't listen. You don't have a story in a game like Diablo 3, for example, or in Anno, or in Age of Empires. So most of the time I listen to podcasts, I listen to music, and often they offer me a moment of inspiration. My mind is somewhere else when I play city builders, and that's funny enough. That's how many aspects of Last Days of Lazarus came in my mind. Aspects of the story, of how to create the environments. Funny enough, came to me when I was actually playing those type of games. Yes, and the last game I played, I guess it's Last Days of Lazarus. I played with my wife, who is my best, the harshest critic. Yeah, it was really fun. She liked it. So to me it's already a success. If my wife liked it,
isn't that the truth? If our spouses like what we're doing, it means we're doing it okay, because they'll be the first to tell us, nah, you're not doing anything good here. Try better. I just wanted to add regarding gaming that even though George isn't that much into the genre that we're making, I'm a big fan of the genre. Like probably the most recent game that I truly enjoyed in the genre was Martha is Dead, which had some really exquisite scenes and some really nice story based to it. And I think this is where our effort came together really nicely, because I was able to bring all my experience as a developer, but also as a gamer in the genre, so we can polish Last Days of Lazarus into a very nice experience for the player.
I want to add something. Not only that I'm not a fan of this genre, but actually I have motion sickness, and most of the time I can't play those type of games. Apart from Grey Dawn and Last Days of Lazarus, because I know what to do. But if I am moving clueless in a scene more than 5 minutes in an abandoned house or something like that, I immediately get sick, and that's why I cannot enjoy those type of games, even though I like making them and watching people play them. It's really sad.
First person motion sickness is a thing. Thank God I don't have it. My life would have been way worse. I'm gonna ask you like a bit of a personal question. Are you happy right now that you've decided to go into
with
this
you.
career path, into making games, and is this something that you see yourself pursuing into the foreseeable future?
Yeah, obviously I'm happy, at least the fact that I've started working on Last Days of Lazarus like a madman alone almost 3 years ago, with little to no budget and with a lot of challenges ahead. That's proof that I still want to do this thing, and hopefully if the game will be successful, I still want to do this for the foreseeable future, because as I said in the beginning, I think there's a lot of stuff that can be told. There are lots of stories that haven't been told, and they should be told, in my opinion. So yeah, plus it's a journey of self-discovery. Each game that I make, it's a journey of self-discovery. You get to read books, you get to talk to people, you get to do various stuff that certainly it's leads to self-improvement if it is dealt with care. And yeah,
I was just thinking something that we often discuss about respecting the player's time.
Yes,
and this was something very important to us, and to me as a gamer. I'm also a father of two, and my time playing games is quite limited. So whenever I see games that don't respect the player's time, that make them do lots of repetitive things just to fill out to prolong the game, to make it look like it's more than it is. This was something very cool for me when I joined the project, because we were on the same mindset that whatever we do with the story, let's not make it longer than it has to be. Let's make it cool. Let's make it hit the beats that we want to hit, in a decent rhythm, right? So let's not prolong it too much. And I think we actually did that quite okay.
Yeah, and actually, why I think we really managed to work on this game with, even though there were lots of challenges, we got from this game what we wanted in terms of production value. You have to know that this game actually started most like a walking simulator, pure walking simulator. There were not many locations. Initially, I wanted just to make a game that would be around an hour, in which Lazarus would wander around the apartment, and that would have been everything. And there would be stuff, you click on stuff, and he might say a thing or two. But obviously now looking back, that would be an atrocious decision, both from an economical point of view, from a financial point of view. You don't make games shorter than an hour, because it's a reality that there are people that refound those games even though they might like them. That's a risk no one should ever assume. And it was interesting enough when I showed Catalin the first vertical slice, let's say, of the game. I was encouraged by his interest in the project, from the interest he has shown in the project, to expand a bit around the idea, to add a few more characters, and to add a few puzzle elements, and sorry. That was actually because I was also limited. I'm not a programmer, so I did not know how to implement those puzzles. And I think in the end we came up with a product that it is what it markets itself to be.
So we often say that we are so happy with how Last Days of Lazarus came out, and we often say that it is definitely the best game that we could make, all things considered. Like, given our lack of budget, given all the time that we invest in it and all things, we think it really is the best game that we could make, and we're very happy with it. And I just wanted to add regarding what George said, that he showed me stuff. What I really loved about him was that every time that he would show me a new build or a new area that he was working on, and I inevitably had some criticisms, or I was impressed, but also I had stuff to comment on, and he never said, you know what, no, this is it, I'm not improving anything else. He always surprised me with a different way to approach things, and sometimes he surprised me so much that he changed things completely. Like huge chunks of the story he changed them, but together we really found a way to make everything really cohesive.
Yeah, usually I'm really hardened. How should I say? I'm really not pertinent to feedback. That's how we say. I don't take feedback very, very happy. But I also have a brain, and when I hear something that really brings value and really makes things better, I'm not gonna insist and be stubborn. If the game would be better if we would change something inside, definitely we're gonna go for that. And I think that's why it happened. Or what you said earlier is because we kind of both have in our minds this wish to make this type of games, and we have ideas, and we're kind of on the same track, more or less.
Yeah, it's definitely a very similar vision to what this sort of game should be, and
exactly
how we can make it nice for the player to enjoy it, to actually get the best out of the experience.
Plus he speaks English much better than me. He can express actually most of the story was
I write it.
Exactly. I came with most of the ideas, and he helped me really fleshed out those things, to really put them in beautiful words. Actually, if you read the notes around in the game, most of the notes they were we both came with the ideas, but he helped me put them very nicely together.
So basically, George came up with the crazy things inside the notes, and I just edited them to make them sound a little bit cooler.
Exactly.
But the crazy stuff, all the disturbing stuff in there is like from his head. I maybe had like 5% of the crazy stuff in the game. Okay, so let's move on and try to wrap this up. George, do you have any advice for small indie devs like ourselves when they try to make maybe a game similar, or a little game of their own? What do you think they should focus on?
Well, not that I'm a very experienced, but I've worked for 7 years in this. Definitely. Be honest with yourself. This is it's a very difficult endeavor. It's a really difficult journey. It comes with a lot of challenges. For me, when I worked on Grey Dawn, for example, I was not married. At least at this point, I don't have kids. I am married, but I don't have kids. Life moves forward, and in time the stuff happens around you, stuff that you cannot control. Countries appear and disappear, and
wars start like right next to us, right?
Exactly, and that's really fortunate. Actually, I really want to mention this because I think they really deserve respect for this. It's not a secret that we bought some assets, and actually some of the assets we bought are from some guys from Ukraine. And they did a really good job. They crafted each asset by hand. They sculpted them in ZBrush, and they did a really good job. They made those assets for their game. And unfortunately, I talked to them. They are safe right now. They're in Kiev, but our prayers are with them, and hopefully they will finish their game. They actually founding their game, raising money for their game by selling those assets. And
the name of their game, or maybe
it's Twin Souls, I guess it's the name of the game. And I've been following their project for quite a few years. Actually, I guess there are 6 years. They started working on their game, and they did a really good job, and I bought their assets. They were really good, and I used them in my project, and hopefully they are gonna release their game, and most of all that everything will.
Yeah, it definitely be a shame if they don't actually get to their dream goal and have that game on the market. For us, it was a big help with laying out the groundwork for like the apartment and all that, and then we came and brought our unique twists and
Personal
our unique
touch.
assets and our religious influences and all that actually make our game stand apart.
And another, let's say, advice and thing that I always like to say is try to make something unique. Cliche stuff, things that you see in many video games. I'm not gonna give names. Those are safe solutions. But if you are an indie, you don't risk that much as huge companies, larger companies would. So try to make something different. That's why I'm risking, Last Days of Lazarus, Great Dawn. They have stories that, and setups that are not incredibly, that are not easily marketable to a larger audience. But if you are indie, if you are really small, like no one like us, why not try to make something unique and try to develop your own style. I really like those shiny golden objects, intricate puzzles. We have a shop for around the Metropolitan Cathedral, just a few steps from here, and they have a display with those beautiful ornate liturgical objects, and they're really great, and I always go by that display and I look at those objects and they serve me as inspiration. They're really cool. You don't see those from what I know. You played lots of games maybe, but
people tend to avoid that sort of imagery. We just embraced it. It's like
exactly
that's our signature, especially that's George's signature, and I really love that.
Try to make something unique and
and just to add that, I think just try to tap into your soul, try to tap into your experiences, into your local influences and all that. Don't be afraid to put a bit of yourself out there, because usually all the great works of art actually have that. A lot of the author put into them, and they're not just trying to copy something that's already on the market. Okay, so one last question, and this is really important. Are we making another game after this one?
Yes, I am already writing the new story. I will be presenting you with a draft.
He's not showing me the story, guys. And, come on, let's comment here and tell him, show Catalin the stories. He needs to see the story.
I have a broad idea in my head, and I want to actually to share with everybody as soon as we have something really solid. But I have a story. I guess it's been a year since I've already knew what I want to make. I've already started managing the workflow. I know the assets, locations. I've gathered a lot of inspiration, but that's another talk for another cringy video.
Okay, talking about cringe, we hope you didn't cringe too much in this video. Like we said, we are definitely not professionals, we're not marketing people, we're just two regular dudes from Romania who made the game together, and we had so many laughs and then so many crying on each other's shoulders during these years when things got tough. But we're so incredibly excited that we're finally getting to release the game and to have players experience Lazarus' story for themselves, and especially Laura's story, because like I said, she's my favorite. George, so I'm gonna let you do the closing for the video.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much. As I said, indie game development is really difficult, especially if you are alone, if you don't have a budget. Obviously, I'm talking about us.
We did have a budget though, but we kind of spent it on voice acting. It was
exactly.
It was quite an effort for us,
Exactly. We didn't have. I mean, we spent money from our pockets, and It's something that is really difficult to do, especially when you want to create something of a higher quality. You want to have voice acting. Voice acting costs.
Yeah.
You want to have animations. You want to have facial animation. Yeah, that's another stuff. It's really complicated. We tried to find a way to avoid those things you'll see in the game.
There's a lot of things that players may take for granted because they see them in a lot of games, but like each of those small things
Exactly.
means enormous cost and development if you want to add them. So we try to find a way that we make a cool game within our limits.
Exactly. It's really difficult, and as Catalin said, with a lot of games releasing each day, around 50, 60 sometimes on Steam, sometimes people take those games granted. They take them, but each journey it's difficult. Each journey has its challenges, and hopefully you like the game, and we will be motivated and compelled to start working on the next project. At least I know I will.
You've got to help me out, guys. I want to see that story. So
yes, I'm
do whatever, like wish list, buy the game, play the game, tell your friends, make videos, anything for me to see the story for the next game.
Obviously, I will certainly do that. Yeah, so we definitely plan to keep you updated with what we are doing. We plan to have a series of videos in which we play the game and probably engage with the community and take you some questions. We plan a few giveaways and stuff like that. That would be from me. In the end, thank you very much, and hopefully you liked, and please, do excuse me, my English is terrible. I'm not an English native speaker, so please forgive me.
Thank you so much, guys. You have a wonderful day.
See you in Lazarus.
Bye.
Bye.